recovery is really about. It's about somehow reconnecting my mind to my feelings so that before I am sober too long, I will begin to know who I am. If you're asking the question at 20, 30, 40, 50 or older, I don't know what I should be doing, you're asking the wrong question. The real question is, I don't know who I am. If my mind knew my energies, I would know without a question of a doubt what it is I should be doing. Most of us are going through life disconnected, and my poor old mind is guessing at things. Maybe I should try this, maybe I should try that, maybe I should try the other. And somehow to try to get some authentic information is really what recovery is about. Because recovery, we've talked about this before, what recovery means, right? The word even, recovery.
Rediscover.
It's to get back something, right? When you've lost something, it can be money, it can be health, it can be, Spanish gold that's been sunk for 500 years, right? What do they call it when they're bringing it to the surface? They call it the recovery process. You send a lawyer out to collect bills for money that's owed to you. What does he call it? He calls it recovery. It's like recovery is getting back something. And what you're getting back in recovery is not that you're going to be walking around like some pathetic characters like, I'm in recovery, and wagging your crutch emotionally at people. No, recovery is about that my mind discovers who I am and starts responding to it as the wise people we're supposed to be, Homo sapiens. And Homo sapiens is not just out there guessing, I think I'll try that, it might have good benefits, Well, it's like if your energy is not going along with that, that's where, we're probably going to run out of steam and be the reluctant employee that you often run into in places, They've got all kinds of, I used to say, the great example for me was the 19th Avenue post office in the Richmond district. You ever went in there? A bunch of really reluctant people doing a job that had infinite security. and they were so depressed, and so reluctant and so angry. And, I could get the phrase later came about like going postal, It's like, so anyway, so getting it into my mind that cutting off my feelings is only making things worse. It is leaving me at the mercy of these movements that are inside of me. And the final thing I want to put on the board is a way of trying to understand. Have any of you relapsed?
Yeah.
I'm not even looking. Well, I'll cop to it. Okay, so here is, I think, I've been doing this for 30-some years. I've been in recovery myself for way more than that. And I have come to this conclusion that this is one of the most common things that leads to our relapses. You know how in the hospital when the doctor comes up to you and you're telling him that something or other hurts, and he says, or she says, on a scale of 1 to 10, how much does it hurt, right? And, 7 or 8 or whatever, and so on a scale of 1 to 10, and say this is around about 5, just, so your emotional discomfort, right? Think about the fact that you have, unknown to your thinking mind, By the way, Freud used to say this. He said, when you talk to people about unconscious pain, how do you know about what unconscious pain, that somebody has unconscious pain, emotional pain?
They're acting out.
They're acting out, yeah. They're doing stuff that their better nature says, I don't want to be doing, and yet you do it, right? So this is how you know that there's something going on, right? There's emotional pain they're trying to relieve, right? So, and Freud used to say this, he says, you tell people about that, maybe you have, it looks like maybe you have unconscious discomfort or pain, and they go, let me see. He says they'll look around the room up in the corners. And then they'll come back and they'll report, no, I don't think so. And he says, what did you go looking in your unconscious with? Did you go down the steps with a flashlight? I mean, the very term unconscious means my conscious mind cannot access it. So, but he says, time and time again, you have people going, no, I don't think so, you know. And he'll say, where did you go and with what did you search, you know. So I just love it because I think all of us tend to do that. He's talking about unconscious pain. I don't have any, you know. So on a scale of 1 to 10, your unconscious pain, just, you know, given the fact that you have some if you were here. So there's a couple of really important junctions here. One is, if you have got a lot of repression, and we'll say, this is called the threshold of consciousness. So if you've got a lot of repression, you may not be aware of your unconscious pain until it's quite painful, right? And finally, maybe it might break out. But long before that, there's another point. And if you're an addict or an alcoholic, that point is called the acting out point. And say that's at 6, and the acting out point. So what might happen if you have emotional pain that is rising and rising and rising, right?
You're going to act out
Before you even know you have it, you're already reaching your body. Your unconscious is reaching for a learned relief. And for us, a learned relief was alcohol or drugs. So our unconscious like short circuits and says, dummy up there isn't going to know about this pain for ages. I'm going to go for relief. And that's where I believe the fuck-ups come from. I believe that our mind gets cut out of the equation. It doesn't even know yet that I'm in emotional pain. And I'm already, you know, and you know the story that's in the big book? It was the end of a perfect day, not a cloud on the horizon. And what happened next?
He went in to have himself a sandwich and a glass of milk and thought it would be great to have himself a little whiskey.
Yeah, that was one of the guys, but the guy who had the perfect day, not a cloud on the horizon, says, as I crossed the threshold of the dining room, suddenly the thought crossed my mind, it would be nice to have a cocktail with my dinner, right? He's 11 months sober. So, I mean, so what is happening is that if I don't change this arrangement, so what I'm trying to say is that for you in recovery, what becomes really important, and if you're in continued therapy particularly, one of the things you should be trying to do in continued therapy would be what?
Wait.
No, as far as this.
Lower your
Wait
level
before
of
acting out.
consciousness.
If you can, lower your threshold of consciousness.
Bring the threshold of consciousness down, which is why those pain in the ass therapists are all the time asking you the question. What is the question they're always annoying you with? How does that feel? How does that make you feel? How are you feeling about that? Right? What are they trying to do? They're trying to connect that broken thing that we had in that previous diagram where my feelings are not reaching my mind. They're trying to connect those signals, trying to connect, if you like, those feeling nerves that my mind begins to know what's going on inside of me. Because if I don't know that, at one stage I'm likely to be acting out, reaching for whatever gave me relief in the past. But the worst part of it in the long run almost is I will never know who I should have been and what I should have been doing with my life. And what does it profit a man if he gain the whole world and suffer the loss of his soul? You heard that before? Yeah, that's out of the New Testament. This is the wisdom that's been around for thousands and thousands of years. That the greatest tragedy is to have our life be over and never having been the one person that I could have enthusiastically been. And I spent my time guessing at other things to try to be, and never seeming to have the energy to be them. And it's not a mysterious thing at all, actually. It's actually quite logical and quite clear once we begin to get it. So I think tomorrow morning at the 8:30 meeting, we'll do the 3-column thing, and I would ask some of you who are brave to come up and volunteer to share one of your experiences that you have been having trouble dealing with. So, okay, so for now, that's it. Okay.